Peace, people. What's happening? Yo, welcome back to No Wooden Nickels. Go and get the disclaimer out of the way. I want to get a quick video out to y'all. My content's for educational purposes only. Can't stress enough for you guys to do your own research. Praise my content. Throw in the comments in the areas you find. None of us have been alive long enough to know all that transpired in the past. None of us can live long enough to know all there is to learn. Alright, this is another installment based around law. Basically because I feel like it's extremely important for us to know the things that have been hidden from us and by which methods we've been deceived, miseducated, and led astray as far as it relates to the reality in which we reside. So, okay. This is I'm not going to get into the entire document. I'm just going to point some facts out to you guys. So, you know, I'm going to read a statement to you, and then I'll expound off of the statement that I'm about to make. All right. The following articles establish that all taxpayers are public offices in the U.S. government, and that the public office is a straw man who is the individual and the person who is the only paper subject of nearly all government legislation. I'll read that one more time for y'all. The following articles establish that all taxpayers are public offices in the U.S. government, and that the public office is a straw man who is the individual and the person who is the only proper subject of nearly all government legislation. Okay. Couple key words in that statement. Number one is taxpayers. Number two is public office, or i.e. public official. The next one is straw man. Let me see if I got that over there, because I want to break these terms down. 1 second. That's not it. Okay. Let's do it this way then. Let's do it this way. All right. As you guys can see, Black's Law Dictionary 3rd edition. So let's get to it. I don't know if y'all can hear me as good or not, but all right, hold up. fourth edition. Actually, for anybody that is looking to buy a Black's Law Dictionary, the fourth edition is the absolute best, in my opinion, because I have a third, and this definition I'm looking for is not in here. All right, so, all right, let me just find this other definition. Well, I see that's not going to work. Yeah, so I got to go and buy a fourth edition. Anyway, and I should have dug through my stuff before I did this video. But anyway, I'm going to move on. I ain't going to hold y'all too much longer. I'm just going to go ahead and continue reading. All right, it says, the following memorandum of law also proves with court admissible evidence that the crime of identity theft and impersonating a public officer results from you acting as a public officer or the government treating you as one if you were not, in fact, and indeed lawfully appointed or elected into public office. Okay, so if you are a person who knows without contradiction that you've never been elected into a public office, you need to understand that you're being treated by like one. You know, just by merit of the W-2, which is the first and only tax form they shove in your face when you get a job. Okay, I'm gonna read on because this is relevant to taxes. At this point, man, if you watch the channel, then you already understand or have a fundamental understanding of what a straw man is. For those who are, if this is your first time on the channel and you're viewing this video, a straw man is a corporate person. It is a holistic government creation. Coincidentally, it has the same name your mother and or father named you at birth. It just comes in all capital letters. Okay? Gets a little deeper than that, but just so you have a fundamental understanding, if you've heard about this before, I'm going to dig into some of the ramifications of it. All right. It says a public officer within the government is a trustee and fiduciary of the public who works for the public trust and federal corporation called United States. Goes on to read and says, as expressed otherwise, the powers delegated to a public officer are held in trust for the people and are to be exercised in behalf of the government or of all citizens who may need the intervention of the officer. Furthermore, the view has been expressed that all public officers within whatever branch and whatever level of government and whatever be their private vocations are trustees of the people, and accordingly labor under every disability and prohibition imposed by law upon trustees relative to the making of personal financial gain from a discharge of their trusts. is your trust. Again, for those who are new to the channel, if you're watching this, I highly suggest that you go back and look at understanding the birth registration process and a redo of understanding the birth registration process. That will bring you up to speed with some of the terminologies that you hear, and it will give you a fundamental understanding to stand on in order to understand and gain a understanding of what I'm breaking down to you guys right now. I want you guys to also understand, man, that first and foremost, a maxim at law is, ignorance of the law is not an excuse nor a defense, though they do not teach us law. They expect for you to know law, but they do not teach you law. And they will wear your ass out at every turn if you do not educate yourself. If for nothing else, your rights. So that way, whenever they're being infringed upon, you can properly assert them and enforce them with confidence. Only way you'll be able to do that with confidence is through research and study. So it behooves you. All right. Goes on to read and says, hold on. Okay. From a discharge of their trusts. That is, a public officer occupies a fiduciary relationship to the political entity on whose behalf he or she serves and owes a fiduciary duty to the public. It has been said that the fiduciary responsibilities of a public officer cannot be less than those of a private individual. You guys also need to look into, matter of fact, that's something I'll do a video on, private versus public. Tonight's video, I apologize, it wasn't like fully prepared. I just wanted to get on there and speak about this briefly. So it goes on to read that, furthermore, it has been stated that any enterprise undertaken by the public official which tends to weaken public confidence and undermine the sense of security for individual rights is against public policy. 63C, American Jurisprudence 2D, Public Officers and Employees, subsection 247. Quick sidebar, again, it is your duty as an individual, to do your own legwork and due diligence as it relates to gaining a foundational understanding. This is of the law and your rights. This is why I take my time and I read things to y'all. I point out certain things to y'all, where I'm getting this information, where you can look this information up, because I would, listen, I do not want nobody taking my word for nothing. Look it up. If you don't understand the verbiage, instead of going to the mall and buying them $200 sneaks, go to Barnes and Nobles. Go to what's that? Amazon. Order you a 4th edition Black's Law Dictionary. Order you some books. And invest in yourself. Invest in the preservation of your rights. That way they can't be standing over top of you, shaking their genitalia, talking about, yeah, that was a hell of a thunderstorm. Did you get wet? All right. Okay, so again, where you can find more on this information I just read. is 63C, American Jurisprudence 2D, Public Officers and Employees, subsection 247. All right, underneath of that, it states W. Anderson, A Dictionary of Law, 261, in 1893 in parentheses. All corporations were originally modeled upon a state or nation. 1. J. Bouvier, a law dictionary adapted to the Constitution and laws of the United States of America, 318 through 319, pardon me. And in parentheses, 11th edition, 1866. Goes on to read, in this extensive sense, the United States may be termed a corporation. Van Brocklin versus Tennessee, 117 U.S. 151. Is that a comma? No, that's a period. 154 in 1886 in parentheses. It states, the United States is a great corporation ordained and established by the American people. Quoting United in the brackets, 495 U.S. 182, 202, end bracket. States versus Maurice, 26 federal case. Well, I don't know if it means case, but States versus Maurice, that's the case you want to look up. 1211 through 1216, number 15,747. Okay. The next case is Cotton versus United States. And it goes on to state United States is a corporation. This next word I can't pronounce, so I'm going to spell it for you. N-G-I-R-A-I-N-G-A-S versus Sanchez. 495 U.S. 182, 1990 in parentheses. Okay. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention to this next statement. And this information that I'm reading you guys is termed about IRS Form 56. If you've never heard about it or never heard it, let me see if I can get that in. Okay, y'all see that? That's what I'm reading from, okay? All right. Now, it says IRS Form 56. Notice concerning fiduciary relationship is used to notify the Internal Revenue and state taxing authorities of either the initiation or termination of a fiduciary relationship between you and an artificial entity, corporate person, Starbucks, any company or corporation you can think of is a fictitious or artificial entity, i.e., a corporate person, such as a business, trust, corporation, or partnership. Such relationships are documented in 26 U.S.C. Subsection 6903. Notice of fiduciary relationships. A fiduciary relationship is defined as follows. Okay. Take this off. All right. Let's see. Turn this thing over. Okay. All right. It goes on to state. Goes on to state. Fiduciary or confidential relation, a very broad term embracing both technical and fiduciary relations and those informal relations which exist wherever one person trusts in or relies upon another. One founded on trust or confidence reposed by one person in the integrity and fidelity of another. Such relationships arises whenever confidence is reposed on one side and domination and influence result on the other. The relations, the relation can be legal, social, domestic, or merely personal. Hellman's estate, matter of 37. Let's see, what is that? I gotta relearn how to read this. It's directing you to where you can get this information from. And I forgot how to read it, so y'all gonna have to forgive me for that. Anyway, it goes on to read. A relationship subsisting between two persons in regard to a business contract, or piece of property, or in regard to the general business or estate of one of them, of such a character that each must repose trust and confidence in the other and must exercise a corresponding degree of fairness and good faith. Out of such a relation, the law requires the rule that neither party may exert influence or pressure upon the other, take selfish advantage of his trust, or deal with the subject matter of the trust in such a way as to benefit himself or prejudice the other, except in the exercise of the utmost good faith and with the full knowledge and consent of that other. Business shrewdness and bargaining and astuteness to take advantage of the forgetfulness or negligence of another being totally prohibited as between persons standing in such a relation to each other. Examples of fiduciary relations are those existing between attorney and client, guardian and ward, principal and agent, executor and heir, trustee and sesteque trust, landlord and tenant, etc. Black Laws Dictionary, 6th edition, page 656. I want to go to the last set of examples. Matter of fact, the last sentence, it says, examples of fiduciary relations are those existing between attorney and client, guardian and ward, principal and agent, executor and heir, trustee and sesteque trust. Y'all need to look up sesteque trust. Landlord and tenant, etc. All right. Now we get to the good part. IRS frequently presumes the existence of fiduciary relationships on your part, and especially in the following cases. All such presumptions are usually false and a violation of due process, and a tort in the case of a person domiciled in a state of the Union. Once more, people, IRS frequently presumes that legal term called a presumption. Hold on. I'm going to give you the definition of a presumption from this book, Commercial Law Applied, okay, by David Robinson. All right, hold tight. All right. So y'all know it's all real. I ain't plagiarizing their word. A presumption is a legal inference or assumption that facts exist based on the known or proven existence of some other fact or group of facts. That's Black's Law, 7th edition, page 1203. Most presumptions are rules of evidence calling for a certain result in a given case unless the party adversely affected overcomes it with other evidence. A presumption shifts the burden of proof or persuasion to the opposing party, who can then attempt to overcome the presumption. It says the IRS makes presumptions about your status which are not true. I'll leave it there for a second. And again, for those who don't know, the IRS is not a governmental agency. It's a private for-profit business. Again, it is not a governmental entity, nor is it a part of the government. It is a private, for-profit entity. All right, back to where I was at. It says, IRS frequently presumes the existence of fiduciary relationships on your part, and especially in the following cases. All such presumptions are usually false, a violation of due process, and a tort in the case of a person domiciled in a state of the Union. That is very important information, people. If you don't understand that, I suggest that you grab a dictionary and invest in yourself, man. You know, invest in that gold mine between your two ears. Stop being so reliant on people to do for you what you can do for your goddamn self. And that goes for me as well. That's why I tell you, don't take nothing I say at face value. Please do your own research. All right, number one, if you file a 1040 long form and deduct business expenses on your tax return using the Schedule C, they will assume you are a business and change your status within the Integrated Document Retrieval System, IDRS, to being that of a fiduciary for a business. That is a presumption that must be rebutted. A presumption stands as law left unrebutted. Understand that, you know. Number two, if you file a Form 1040 and claim taxable income, IRS will assume that you are an alien with income effectively connected with a trade or business, which means that you hold a public office as required under 26 CFR 1.1-1, A2, and 26 USC subsection 7701, 826. Public officers are fiduciaries for the public and for the public monies they receive from the federal agency they work for. If you file a Form 941, IRS will assume that you are either a federal employer, i.e., a federal agency, or a fiduciary for such an federal agency. Man, y'all really. Should I read this? Yeah, I don't think that's pertinent for the purpose that I read this. So I'll go down to a part that will basically highlight my reason for even doing this video and reading this information for y'all. All right. Okay. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I gotta read it. If you file a Form 1120, IRS will assume that you are either a corporation or a fiduciary for a federal, not state corporation. If you fill out a Form W-4 and mark exempt and submit it to your private employer, the private employer sends it into the IRS, and the IRS then makes the assumption that you are a federal employee, which means a privileged public officer of the United States government who is effectively connected with a trade or business, which is a public office, and is acting as fiduciary for public funds. You pay, which comes from a federal agency called an employer. If you are a private business and you submit an IRS Form W-9 to get an employer identification number, EIN, then the IRS will assume that you are a federal agency or acting as a fiduciary for a federal agency, and that the agency is an resident alien and a U.S. person. Look this shit up. A U.S. person. This is the shit they don't tell y'all about. This is the shit that you never thought was real. All you was doing, kept hearing motherfuckers talk about, like, well, that birth certificate and that social security card. Man, look into it. Look into it. You know what I mean? If you choose, you know. U.S. person, as required under 26 CFR subsection 301.6109-1D3 and Part 3 of the Form W-9. If the IRS wants to create a bogus liability they know they have no authority to collect, they will assign you the status of being the executor over the estate of a dead person, i.e., all capital letters, representation of your name is a dead person. Prime example, if you've ever been to court for a charge and the what is that? Not the defendant, but the been a while, and that's a good thing. I don't even remember. Not the defendant, the other party in the case. Damn, I can't remember. Y'all know what I'm talking about, though. The state of Delaware cannot show up in court and speak for itself and or be cross-examined. Can it? You never looked at it like that, did you? Especially if you've been in jail or one of the penitentiaries. Never thought about that. So where's the injured party? I'm gonna leave that with you. You think about that. Where is the injured party? Anyway, going on. Okay. They will assign you the status of being, they will assign you the status of being the executor over the estate of a dead person, and then send you a CP 504 notice listing the type of tax as 1040 tax, which is a tax on the estate of a dead person's farm equipment imposed on the executor and for which the liability statute does exist. If you file a Social Security Form SS5, you are presumed to be a federal employee and become a trustee for the Social Security Administration. Goes on to read, it says, the existence of the fiduciary relationship is completely invisible to the filers in most cases, unless they attempt to get a copy of their individual master file, IMF, individual master file. That acronym always also stands for the International Monetary Fund. Look this shit up, y'all. As an individual on their business master file as a corporation, partnership, or trust, the codes in these files will often tell them what kind of entity the IRS thinks they are. If you would like, okay. All right. Says if you would like to learn more about this, please look at the master file decoder for details. Okay. The most prevalent type of fiduciary relationship for natural persons who have not submitted the Form 56 before is the relationship IRS establishes to our all caps straw man. That is, when we file our first 1040 form, the IRS will create a tax module for the tax year and enter our entity information in all caps. For instance, if our name is John Q. Doe in upper and lowercase letters, then they will enter the name as John Q. Doe in all caps and associate it with the identifying number appearing on the return. From that point on, this is a longer drawn out example of what presumptions are and the kinds of ramifications an unrebutted presumption can bring to you as a 14th Amendment United States citizen, subject to the corporate code, statutes, and regulations of the United States government, having only privileges instead of the God-given rights you were born with. All right. It goes on to read, the IRS will presume that you are a taxpayer. Their mission statement in Internal Revenue Manual 1.1.1.1 says they can only help taxpayers. They won't even talk to you if you are a non-taxpayer, not engaged in the trade or business franchise. They also don't have any forms for non-taxpayers. So if you use one of their forms, rather than invent your own non-taxpayer forms or modify the standard forms, you create a presumption that you are a taxpayer. For details on this scheme, see who are taxpayers and who needs a taxpayer identification number. Man, listen. That name will be associated with the taxpayer because the return indicates a non-zero liability. You have to stop filing for 3 successive years pursuant to IRS Restrictions and Reform Act, Section 3707. 112 Statute 778 in order to become a non-filer within their system and get off their radar screen. Wow. The party liable on the return is identified with a person engaged in the excise taxable activity called a trade or business, which is defined in 26 U.S.C. subsection 7701(a)26 as the functions of a public office. Therefore, the taxpayer is a federal public officer. Is a federal public officer, instrumentality, or employee subject to the jurisdiction of the Internal Revenue Code, who is classified as a trustee and fiduciary as identified in 26 U.S.C. subsection 6903. Hey man, I'm about to cut this short. It's already 40 minutes. It was a slow start. If you made it past the slow beginning, then you just got some informative information. You got a bunch of terms and you got a bunch of legal terms that you can look up and gain, an understanding of just one of the tactics. Just one of them. 1040. Yeah, man. In closing, I just wanted to, let people know, that anytime you utilize 3 points of jurisdiction, which is your name, social, and date of birth, you are having intercourse via commerce. You are engaging in contracts and contracting, giving consent in commerce. You need to understand the ramifications of your actions in commerce. It's the reason why when you turned 18, they passed that Social Security card off quick. You're grown now. That's because the Secretary of State didn't want to be responsible for what you did in commerce with that card or that number. This is the type of shit they're not going to teach us, man. You can't sit back and depend on nobody to get you straight. To teach you what you need to know. You can't depend on the same jokers that do you dirty. You can't sit back and wait on nobody because it's your life. It's what you want. So the same. Everything has duality. So the flip side of that coin is if you're okay with paying or with them raping you, which is essentially what they're doing, for the wages from your labor, impeding upon your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And you wonder how they got you contractually bind to something that you never signed a contract or gave consent for. Unbeknownst to you. What's that equal to? Deceit, trickery, tricknology, i.e. fraud. You can check it for yourself, people. There are 7 elements that must be present for a contract to be legally binding. One of them is consideration. Another one is full disclosure. Another one is you have to agree. When did you agree? When were you given full disclosure? When were you given consideration? And that's just 3 of them. So, hopefully, as always, man, this has been, if you was able to get past the beginning of it, sometimes you gotta work with me sometimes at the beginnings, man, because I be formulating this shit on the fly. Whether I'm reading from a document or I'm coming off the top of the head, giving y'all some real shit, man. Whatever you choose to do with it, I'm fine with. However, I will leave y'all with this. It's been a lot of fear mongering, talking about the dollar's going to crash. The motherfucker never rose. The real dollar been crashed. The United States notes that were redeemable for gold bullion and silver coin, that been crashed. You need to look up the definition of a note. Federal Reserve note, bank note. You gotta look this shit up, man, and understand what it is that you're dealing with, because it's not money, it's currency. Currency and money have two separate definitions. The only thing that can, by definition, the only money is gold and silver, not FDR. No, FRNs, Federal Reserve notes, are not money. You cannot tender a debt with a Federal Reserve note. You gotta look these definitions up, man. Tender has a definition. Get a financial dictionary. Look this shit up. I need to get one myself. But hey, man. Knowledge is power, man. You can only do what you know. If you don't know, you can't do it. So don't you keep believing them fucking lies they tell us. What you don't know won't hurt you. And shit been hurting us, cuz. We've been hurt due to our lack of knowledge. So that being stated, man, I hope this was educational. I hope it was beneficial. I hope that, if you clicked onto this video, you had enough patience to get past the slow beginning and, gain some enlightenment, and I have more videos to come. This was just an impromptu video. Hadn't been on here in about a week or so, and I know I need to, nurture my channel. So that's what this one was all about, just to put something out there, some information that I know a lot of people aren't privy to, but it is beneficial information. Problem with us is we done got lazy, man. We done got lazy. We want everything done for us. We want somebody else to come in and take care of the business that we supposed to be taking care of. And this applies to all facets of life, man. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign off, man. Let y'all go. I'm gonna go ahead, get myself together, lay it on down, rest and recuperate, and y'all be safe. And remember, man, if something no longer serves you, man, relieve yourself of it. Person, place, thing, whatever. I'm out.